Hello and welcome to Paul on Politics, our regular review of all the week's political news in Kent live on KMTV. Now, with Halloween looming, it's a scary time of the year, but nothing, it seems, is as scary as the fate of Kent's road network in 2019, if some of our MPs are to be believed. But are the ominous warnings justified or simply a way to get the government's attention? And we'll be looking at whether a campaign to keep Manston Airport open has reached the end of the runway. With us to discuss these issues are Gordon Henderson, the MP for Sittingbourne and Sheppey, and Stuart Jeffrey of the Kent Green Party. Thanks to both of them for joining us. But first, Duarte Diaz reports on how Kent MPs are getting restless over the prospect of the county becoming gridlocked after we leave the EU.
As 2019 quickly approaches, the reality of what the country and the county need to do to get ready for the UK to exit the EU is quickly starting to hit home. A number of Kent MPs have recently brought this to parliamentary debates to highlight the need to consider solutions for foreign lorry parking on motorways, new options for lorry parks, Operation Stack, and what could happen to the Port of Dover if we find ourselves in a no-deal scenario at the end of negotiations. Damien Collins and Helen Grant stressed the need for a solution for a lorry park in the county.
Any time delay in the processing of freight in and out of the country will cause massive traffic congestion in Kent. And if we want the country to be ready for Brexit on day one, that includes being ready and having the infrastructure in place to support it. I believe that, that it is possible, if there are customs delays, that Operation Stack will once again become a frequent and unwelcome visitor to the county.
Every time Operation Stack is implemented, Manston, the county town of Kent, in my constituency, seems to grind to a complete halt, causing havoc. And I have to say, I do think that matters could be improved if Highways England could work a little bit more effectively and closer with parish, borough and county councils.
Charlie Elphick took to the Commons to remind the government of the need for a no-deal plan.
We spent a long time waiting for the European Union to get its act together. 3/4 of the country agrees that if progress can't be made, we should be prepared to walk away. And it's vital that we have the option to do so, that we are fully prepared. And that's why I say that we must be ready on day one to forge ahead on day two, deal or no deal.
Craig McKinley quickly echoed the need to plan ahead.
Don't you think it's incumbent upon us as parliamentarians and also as the various departments to actually speak to business and say, this is what WTO means? Because as days progress and the intransigence of our EU partners sadly progresses, it's looking more and more likely that WTO rules will happen, and it's nothing to be fearful of.
A new system for checks using upgraded technology will come into effect in January 2019, 2 months before the Brexit date. HMRC said it needs an extra £7.3 million investment to upgrade the system to prevent delays from 2019. But not everybody's quickly optimistic. Meg Hilliard, the Labour chairman of the All-Party Public Accounts Select Committee, said that queues could be 112 miles long if there's a delay at the Port of Dover. It could be catastrophic.
Well, Gordon Henderson, we know you're a fervent Brexiteer. Are you having second thoughts now after these warnings about gridlock in Kent?
No. The gridlock in Kent takes place whenever we have Operation Stack, which is nearly always about problems at Calais, and have been happening whilst we're in the EU. I don't see it will be any difference once we left the EU.
Well, Kent seems to be getting all of the pain and no gain from what some of your colleagues have been saying.
That's nothing to do with the EU. We've been putting up with that while we're in the EU. If the doommongers are right about there's going to be a problem with trade after we leave the EU, then presumably that will mean there will be less lorries foreign lorries on the road.
Well, hold on a minute.
I don't think it's going to happen. I think
you're saying business is going to increase if we go.
I am. I said if the doommongers. I'm not a doommonger, and I think the doommongers are wrong. I think we will continue to have it, and that's why we need to get a solution to the problem now.
Stuart, we know that the Green Party is against the big lorry park planned off the M20, but frankly there's not enough time between now and 2019 to do anything else but perhaps build a lorry park.
I think we need to understand what's going on here. We see the Operation Stack, it really hurts people who live in Kent. And if that's going to almost double in size every time something goes wrong at Dover because of Brexit, you've got to really ask what people were thinking when they voted for it, because I don't want to see that stack double, and I'm sure most people in Kent don't want to either. In terms of what should happen, we have to have this shift from road to rail freight.
We know that, but it's not going to be in time for 2000. Yeah, we know that it's not going to happen by March 2019.
No, and frankly, I don't want to see us going forward with Brexit until people have had a proper chance to vote on the actual deal being made in Brexit. So I don't want to see us leaving in 2019, and therefore.
Well, I mean that decision's been taken. I think that's the point.
I don't think it has been taken.
It has been taken.
It has not.
We had a referendum last year. And at that referendum, 62% of my constituents voted to leave the EU. They're not stupid. They knew the repercussions for that. They still want to leave the EU, and so do I.
All
Gordon,
62%.
Let's just pick you up on this issue about customs checks, because there is a real issue, and that is tied to Brexit, isn't it?
There is, but I'm optimistic. I genuinely optimistic.
Well,
I believe
everything will come out in the wash. Is it?
No, I believe that we will strike a deal with our European neighbours and partners, and we will have a similar operation to what we've got at the moment. So I genuinely believe that.
But if you genuinely believe that, why are some of your colleagues raising the prospect of sort of traffic Armageddon in Kent?
I don't reckon that any of my colleagues who have raised concerns about traffic in Kent were linking that to the EU. With all due respect, Paul, it appears to be KMTV that are doing that link.
Well,
I don't think it's us that's doing that link.
Well, we've had Meg Hillier from the Public.
Well, she's not she's not a Kent MP,
I know she's not, but
she's an ardent Remainer. She actually will do and say anything to scaremonger.
Stuart, customs checks are genuinely an issue, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, it's linked to to Brexit. I mean, it's an inescapable fact that if you have to put in huge customs checks, it's going to slow down traffic through the port.
We won't have to.
Really. So we're going to go leave the EU without any deal. We're going to go off off a cliff edge and crash and burn at the bottom. There's no deal on the table.
And even if there isn't a deal, if we've got to have some sort of custom checks, with technology, we can have automatic custom checks very easily. I think it's scaremongering to say otherwise.
I'm afraid we've got to move on there. I just mentioned HRMC says it wants another £7.3 million for its new technology. And now, was there something really sinister about a Conservative MP who wrote to universities to demand the names of lecturers teaching students about Brexit? The University of Kent delivered a witty riposte inviting the MP to come down and talk to students instead. Louisa Britton reports.
This is the letter Conservative MP Chris Heaton-Harris sent to universities asking for details about their courses on the issue of Brexit. It has sparked outrage from many academic circles, with lecturers calling it an attempt to censor them and control what they teach their students. Professor Richard Whitman works at the University of Kent and has added his voice to the debate.
This was a letter that wasn't coming from a local MP, it was coming from a whip of the governing party and somebody who didn't really have an obvious reason for being interested in the way that we were teaching the EU and teaching Brexit here at the university. I felt uneasy, and particularly for colleagues, junior colleagues who are non-UK EU citizens. This is really part of a much bigger picture in terms of attempts to stop academics doing what they do, which is to explain, to understand, and to provoke discussion on something which is controversial, timely, and necessary, which in this case is obviously Brexit.
The University of Kent issued this statement saying, "The university informed Mr Heaton-Harris of its commitment under its charter to freedom of speech within the law and to academic freedom. We do not impose any central control on content. Recorded lectures are strictly for the use of students taking the course in question." In the context of his inquiry, we did invite Mr Heaton-Harris to share his perspectives and insights on Brexit with students on our European politics modules. We await his reply. But it seems academics aren't the only ones voicing their concerns, as Mr Heaton-Harris's own party has also criticised the move. The university's Minister Jo Johnson said it was a letter that probably should not have been sent.
So was this MP wrong, Gordon, to write this letter? Was there a sense of a kind of McCarthyite witch hunt going on here?
I think this is, I've got a copy of the letter here. I'm pleased you showed a copy of the letter there. I mean, it's the most innocuous letter, most polite letter I've ever seen in my life. To think that that should be any way sinister, I think strikes as, the whole world has gone mad. If that is, I've got more important things to worry myself about than one of my colleagues writing to universities.
Well, it's not quite clear why he actually wrote the letter, so there's some different explanations for it. Perhaps he should have explained why he's writing the letter.
I understand he is looking to write a book, and he wanted to gather information. Now, I write to school teachers and head teachers in my schools in my constituency all the time, and I ask them questions. It seems to me slightly bizarre if, and I think, having said that, the Chancellor of the University of Kent actually struck the right note on this. Well, there's nothing sinister on this.
So, Stuart, some kind of witch hunt going on here, or intimidation of free speech?
I'm just amazed that we apparently got somebody in government using government stationery to help research a book he's writing. That just seems a bit bizarre. But yes, it does feel very McCarthy-ish. The idea of students debating politics in university, I mean, surely that's a good thing, not a bad thing. We need to encourage it. And there is already quite a heavy movement of no platform to quash free speach within university.
Where does it say anywhere in this letter anything about speech or free speech? It's asking a question. It's asking for the names of professors who are actually teaching European affairs. There's nothing wrong about that.
Thank you very much for that, Gordon. We've got to move on. When we come back, what will be the future for the former Manston airfield in Kent? And we ask if pets are good for politicians and politics. Don't go away. Welcome back to Paul on Politics, live on KMTV with Gordon Henderson MP and Stuart Jeffrey of the Green Party. Now, it's been an important week for the former Manston Airport site in Thanet. The long-running saga over whether it should be kept as an airport or used for housing development came to a head. Harry Peat reports.
These conflicting plans for Monson Airport have been rumbling on for some time. Stonehill Park want to build homes, whilst River Oaks Strategic Partners, along with the Save Manston groups, want the airfield to stick to its aviation roots.
It's one of the first airports. It's now 100 years old, just over 100 years old. It was used in both the First and Second World Wars and was here for the defence of people of Kent. And the people of Kent are now saying, Manston was here for us before, we're here for now for Manston.
Thanet District Council have decided to go ahead with the plans that will see new homes built on the site, leaving those in favour of keeping the site for aviation certain that this will mean the death of Manston.
You can't dig up the runway, you can't put lots of houses on the airport and have it as a major commercial airport. The two don't go together. There are houses being built in the area, but these people must be fully aware that Manston is presently designated as an airport until such time as the Secretary of State says otherwise.
The old air traffic control tower behind me at Manston Airport has seen thousands of planes come and go in its time, but it could be new houses that it sees arrive in the area if plans go ahead. The developers of Stonehill Park housing site have called the council's agreement to go ahead a victory for common sense, with an article on their website from boss Trevor Cartner reading, Stonehill Park will create an outstanding new community that meets the urgent local need for homes, schools and jobs, while enhancing the social and leisure infrastructure across the county. It will also protect greenfield sites across the district. The company has plans for 4,000 homes and says it will also create more than 2,000 jobs from an additional business park, but Save Manston has doubts about the legitimacy of building on the airfield.
The planning inspector has just ruled that Manston is for aviation only. So it's very strange that they're pushing on regardless. The effect will be that the local plan will be sent back to them almost certainly, and they will be wasting time and money.
The flight path for the future of Manston looks like it's been made clearer, but there still could be some very expected turbulence from those against the housing. Harry Peat for KMTV in Thanet.
Gordon Henderson, now we know UKIP made this a firm commitment in their manifesto when the elections were held, but if expert consultants have decided or suggested that there's no chance of Manston becoming commercially viable, surely they've got no alternative but to use it for something else.
Well, of course, they have no alternative, because if experts say that it's not viable as an airport, but of course experts said it wasn't viable before UKIP put in their manifesto when before the last local election there, they would pursue the compulsory purchase of Manston because residents want Manston aviation use protected in the local plan. Well, they knew at the time that it was not viable, so I think it was slightly dishonest of them to have said that at the time. The one thing I say about the whole development is, it's for local people to decide. It's not my patch, so I wouldn't want to say too much about it. So I do hate hypocrisy.
Stuart, good news for those who want affordable homes, bad news for those who want an airport. Where do you stand?
Well, clearly we're really pleased that we're not going to get another airport. In the days of increasing climate change and worsening impacts of that climate change, what we shouldn't be seeing is additional airports and more air travel. We need to get our transport greener and environmentally sustainable.
It does seem strange though, because planes are quieter, they're using newer technology which reduces the pollution levels. You're a bit behind the curve on that, aren't you?
Hardly. The greatest impact on, or the greatest growth in terms of greenhouse gases is from air travel, and air travel across the world is increasing. And of course that the fumes go straight into the upper atmosphere where they do the most damage. It's 4 times more damaging in terms of the CO2 that comes out of an aeroplane.
Where I agree with Stuart to a certain extent.
Oh my goodness, we've got a Conservative agreement.
No, we do, because I've long believed it. I'm not just saying that now. One of I think there has been a proliferation of shorter internal flights in the United Kingdom, with EasyJet and that flying between Glasgow and London and such like. And there is no doubt about it that the most pollution comes when an aircraft is taking off and landing. So shorter flights actually cause more pollution than long-haul flights do in the main. So I want to see less short-haul flights and more use of trains for that.
Stuart, one of the issues here is about housing, actually, isn't it? And the fact that Thanet Council is making the point that the government's prepared to step in and increase housing targets if local plans aren't agreed and signed off. So, in a sense, Thanet Council is probably wise to do this, isn't it?
So there is clearly a real housing problem in this country, but the problem is a lack of affordable housing. I was looking at an estate agent windows this afternoon. These are very, very expensive small properties that are on sale, especially in Kent. So we do need more houses, but they have to be the right houses. They have to be affordable. They have to be social housing, not huge mansions built on large greenfield sites. We need small, compact, high-density housing desperately.
Gordon, there is an issue here, isn't there? It's a debate with the government about its intention to impose higher building targets.
It is. I had a debate in Parliament only last year where I raised the concern about the fact that Kent, in particular, had taken more than its fair share of housing over the years. And the house building that takes place in Kent, I made this point, actually all that happens is we're sucking more people from outside of our area, so it doesn't actually solve our internal problem.
You have jobs elsewhere.
But it does. But the other point about it is this, and I made this point particularly about Swell, is that Swell Borough Council put in a local plan with 540 odd houses a year in its plan, and the planning inspector came in and said that wasn't enough, they've got to have 750. Now the government is saying it's supposed to be over 1,000. And I've already written to the Secretary of State for Communities and Local Government and told them I will not accept that.
Well, I
will vote against it.
I gather that your colleagues in Medway Towns struck a similar
same
course.
thing.
Yes.
They are.
OK, well, we'll have to move on there. Now, finally, after the pet cat of the New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern became an internet sensation, can politicians use their pets to boost their popularity? Josie Hennett reports.
Everybody wants to be a cat.
Theresa May is Prime Minister, Boris Johnson is Foreign Secretary and Philip Hammond is Chancellor of the Exchequer. But do you know the political pets of Westminster? Here's a rundown. It all started with Larry, the permanent mouser, at number 10. Then came Palmerston to keep the Foreign Office free of mice. Gladstone was charged with looking after the Treasury, and Evie and Ozzy prowl around Whitehall. But these political pets aren't without drama. Chancellor Philip Hammond brought his Terrier Rex into number 11 and challenged feline geopolitics, and even amongst moggies it's no easy going. During the post-referendum reshuffle in 2016, Palmerston and Larry didn't quite see eye to eye. But is this just fun, or does it affect politics? In his parting speech as Prime Minister, David Cameron even addressed rumours that he and Larry didn't get along.
And the rumour that somehow I don't love Larry. I do. And I have photographic evidence to prove it. Sadly, I can't take Larry with me. He belongs to the house and the staff love him very much, as do I.
The latest kitty on the Politicat sphere is Paddles, the polydactyl cat of the new Prime Minister of New Zealand. With its sassy Twitter account and 6 digits in each paw, this moggy is taking Twitter and politics by storm.
Well, it's a slightly whimsical subject, but in a sense, you know, do pets help kind of humanise politicians in some ways? If we see them, you know, with their dogs, etc., out walking, is it a way in which we see them as the same as everybody else?
Yeah, I mean, I think you know, it does show that human face, and I don't have any problem with this at all. And using them in social media feels quite nice thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you know, we probably wouldn't have had this kind of focus on this sort of thing without social media.
Yeah. So tweeting pictures of your pets is great. Tweeting generally from politicians is great. Of course, there is one politician that I think the grown-ups need to take the phone away from him, and to prevent any thermonuclear war in North Korea. But you know, generally speaking, tweeting things that the rest of us can relate to is a great thing.
Well, as long as they don't tweet what they've had for dinner, that's all right. Gordon, you used to have a dog.
I used to have a dog. I haven't got a dog anymore. Yet my only pets are my goldfish and my bees, and neither none of those
bees are pets.
Neither of them are very photogenic, I'm afraid. So won't do me any good. But and it's no point taking my phone away from me, by the way, because I don't do tweeting at all.
I think you should post a picture of your bees, Gordon.
Well, they posted a picture of me having been stung by my bees a couple of weeks ago, and I look like the Elephant Man.
Stuart, is this the sort of thing, you know, social media, which actually reaches out to, you know, other people outside the kind of political kind of circle, you know, younger people, for example?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great thing, and we should be doing more of it. I mean, clearly Trump uses it to some effect, but
without a cat.
Without a cat. It'd probably be a little bit better if he did have
a
cat.
I thought he was wearing it on his head, actually.
But clearly, you know, engaging with people in any way, shape or possible is the right thing to do as a politician.
Okay.
I agree with that to a certain extent.
Are you tempted to get another pet to enhance your political prospects?
I think I'm far too old to enhance my political prospects.
Okay, well, thank you very much to our guests. That's all from us here at Paul on Politics. Thanks to our guests for coming into the studio. We'll be back soon. In the meantime, you can catch up with all the latest political news in Kent by logging on to KentOnline.co.uk, listening to KMFM, or follow me on Twitter without a pet, Paul on Politics. Thanks for watching. We'll see you soon.
Yeah.